What should I post? In a previous episode, I talked about They Ask You Answer. I love that book, and I can't say enough about how important it is for business owners to use that book as at least a part of your marketing strategy. Okay. And the premise of the book is basically, this guy was, and this book was written, I think in like 2008, 2009. It was written by a guy. I think he owned a pool company where he installed pools into people's, homes and fixed pools and things like that. And it was right when the economy was about to shit the bed. And like I said, 2008, and he was losing a lot of business. So he started just posting videos on YouTube where he was answering the questions that people asked him all the time. And he ended up building this huge brand out of it, and he saved his business and has been thriving and surviving ever since. So some of the information, I say that to say some of the information in the book is a little bit dated because it's before the algorithm revolution, right? But the premise is still applicable, and it's even more valuable today, in my opinion, than it was in 2010 or 2009 or whenever the book was written. You just need to update the actual mechanics of where you're distributing this content. And, instead of, you need to make bite-sized content. You need to make shorter form content in order to point to your longer form content as well, right? So if you're looking for ideas, that's a great place to start, right? The questions. Okay, these are questions I can answer. I answer them every day. You're already familiar with the topic, so you probably don't need to script them out, which I would, unless you really need to script things out, I would say just talk to the camera or just write in plain English. Don't script it out. If you're doing video work, try not to script it out unless you absolutely have to, okay? The other thing is, and this is something that I picked up when I was writing songs professionally in Nashville. I just had an Apple Note, right? And I would just, when I was out and about throughout my day, if an idea popped in my head, I would write it down. It used to be you had to carry a journal or something like that in order to do this. But now, again, you've got the phone in your pocket already. Start an Apple Note. That way, anytime you get an idea for a topic, anytime you talk to a client and they give you an idea for a story that you can share, write that down, because that is going to be incredibly valuable. Because again, the content game is it's a volume play. So you need to start thinking like a content creator, start thinking like a songwriter. We would do this. All the guys that I wrote songs with and the guys and the girls I wrote songs with, we would get into you'd end up meeting 2 or 3 people on a Monday morning. Hey, what are we going to write? And then everybody pull their phones out. Oh, I got an idea, blah, blah, blah. And oh, I've got an idea that'll weave in with that. So you really want to have those ideas ready to go before it's time to sit down and create the content. And I'm also going to share this story. The other person that did this incredibly well, better than anybody, probably, is Larry David with Seinfeld. Because I'm a huge, huge Seinfeld fan, right? So in case you didn't know this, every single story that happened on Seinfeld happened to one of the writers, okay? Listen to this.
Financial demands, and he got everything he wanted.
I didn't realize that George was Larry. Probably, it was in that first season with that confidence order of 4. It was somewhere in there. There was I can't remember exactly what it was. There was a moment in the script that, with my fine classical actor training, I went to Larry and I said, Larry, first of all, this would never happen to anybody, but if it did, no human being would react like this. And Larry said, what do you mean? This happened to me, and this is exactly what I did. And I went, oh, okay. And it was kind of at that moment that I understood that he was writing his own experiences and his own reactions.
So I share that because Larry David is an expert storyteller, right? Absolutely unbelievable. So if it's good enough for Larry David, it's good enough for you. If you're going to be in the content game, which you need to be, we've already established that, then you need to have ideas for topics. And you don't want to ever, whether you're writing or recording a podcast or shooting videos, you don't ever want to sit down to record and be like, what am I going to talk about? You want to have that list. So the great place to start, number one, the questions. They ask, you answer. Come up with as many as you possibly can. I would say start with 50. That should be something you sit down and say, okay, these are 50 topics that I can come up with. Number 2, keep that phone in your back pocket. And every time you go out, it doesn't matter if it is necessarily a story that can happen, that is, whether you're teaching somebody You don't have to be teaching somebody how to do something. Like if you're a plumber, it's a great idea. Yeah. If you teach somebody things they can do to avoid, a pipe leaking or whatever. But it's also interesting if you get into somebody's house and they say, oh, I did this. And then I realized I made a mistake. And since I made that mistake, my house flooded or something happened. Like that's a great story to tell. So you need to have your antenna up and you need to be ready at all times to see, hear, and find new content. So that's the first step. So the ideating process, okay? Come up with this. It can literally be as simple as having an Apple Note where you write out your 50 questions and then you have another little header and you write out all of the things that happen. You talk to a client, you had a great lunch with the client. They gave you an idea or they asked you a question you hadn't been asked before, about something that's happening currently. Or you turn on, you get on Twitter and you see somebody in your space sharing a take that you think is fantastic and you want to put your 2 cents on top of it, right? Or on TikTok or on Instagram or on Facebook or whatever. Make that note. That's a piece of content. So always be on the lookout for that.